All right, welcome back. So this unit is exclusively about Firebase authentication, right? So auth. But you really can't do much with just auth, right? So you do have to actually implement CRUD methods at some point. So what we're going to do is in one video, we're going to implement all the CRUD methods that we did last time. So create, read, update, delete. We're going to do it largely with copy paste because this is a skill you learned last time. You will see some new things in the code, and those are some things that you could use, certainly, and encouraged. But we are going to kind of just blaze through a whole unit in a single video. It's going to be great. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to prepare our model object, just to kind of remember back to the last unit, movie quotes. In order to make a model object like more Firebase ready, there are some things that we chose to add to it. First off, we chose to import Firebase, obviously. We chose to add a key to it as well. So we keep the data snapshot as kind of like what I call a flat data snapshot, where it kind of rolls the key into the object. It's an optional because when you create a new one, it won't have a key, right? And then when you push it up, the key will get added, and then when you receive it back down, it'll have a key with it, of course. So most of them will have a key if it came from the database. The only ones without a key will be the ones that you just made, right? It's also nice to go ahead and make constants out of your key literals, right? So moving quote last time, here it's going to be service, username, password. And then we need to convert both ways, right? So if we get a snapshot, we want to be able to make an object out of it. So we have a constructor that receives a snapshot and actually makes an object. And then we have the reverse as well. If you've got an object and you want to turn it into a dictionary, right, which can be used as a snapshot value, you can do that. Notice that this is not quite apples to apples because it's a data snapshot to an object, and then it's an object to just the value part, the dictionary, but it turns out that that's what you want. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be updating our password object, and there should be a link above for the code that you should copy paste. So long speech to say go copy paste some code. So it currently looks like this, which is all well and good. But instead I want to use the code from this gist, and this gist is actually just kind of includes everything from top to bottom. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy out the gist, and I'm just going to blow away everything and paste that in. So didn't go over it because it's really the exact same as what we did in movie quotes. We added a string, we added some keys for the literals, and then we added the conversion each way, right? The next thing we're going to do is actually, we're just going to handle CRUD in order, right? So we're going to start with C and then R, then U, then D. It's just kind of fun to do it that way. So in order to create, you have to find the right spot where you want to create something. If you just kind of, glance around in the code, you'll find a function called add password, right? So this is the code that gets called when a user clicks on that plus icon, right? And you just kind of can look around here to what it does. And eventually you find this area that says locally add a password and reload the table. So this is the spot where we want to start doing stuff. So I don't want to do anything that they said. And instead I want to do it kind of my own way. Actually, this line will still be useful because I'm still going to make an object. And so if I go ahead and make the object, and then I can choose to do something different with it. So what I've got right here is I'm inside of a closure, so I have to say self dot. I've got my current user's ref, and what I really want to do is I want to do a child by auto ID, which makes that auto-generated key, and then I want to set the value at that location to be whatever the new passwords get snapshot value is. Cool. And so that actually is kind of fun, right? So instead of making it and putting it manually onto this list, and then there's this thing with cell heights, which is kind of interesting, and reloading the table, we're just going to push it to Firebase. Interestingly enough, this will work. It won't show anything on the screen, but it should work, right? So let's go ahead and open up our console and just kind of get it ready back here. So you can see we did some hard-coded tests. You know what? Blowing those away. Don't really care about them. Just getting rid of them. And what I'm going to do instead is I'm using anonymous auth, so I am signed in as someone. I'm just going to go ahead and add something, right? So I'll add my Google Fi thing back, right? So blah, blah. So when I click on add, nothing will happen on the iPhone, but it should pop in over here, which is pretty cool. And so it has me signed in with anonymous auth, and it added this information, which is neat. And my screen is still quite blank, which is expected. So that's actually C, right? So that's create. So create is now done. Next, what we're going to have to implement is the R in CRUD, so read. Read is more complex, as you may remember. You have to add 3 observers, one for child added, one for child changed, one for child removed. But the nice thing is I'm not going to make you type any of it. I'm just going to let you copy it from a gist, all right, which is kind of fun. So the gist, there's a link above the video, has this setup Firebase observers method. It was slightly different than what we typed in the video, but I'm just going to leave it how it is. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy just these 3 lines first, and I'm going to paste them into that method. So I'm going to go looking for that method. Here it is. And you can see my hack is commented out there. I'm actually just going to delete that hack. I'm done with that now. And so you can see that it adds these observers. Now it uses a syntax that you're probably not quite familiar with, but it's not too bad. So it says current user's ref, observe event of type, .child added, .child changed, or .child removed, and then those receive a closure. The closure has a snapshot that comes in. Note that we didn't specify the type because you're technically not required to. And then inside that function, which is very short here because we're going to actually just call another function, we're going to pass that snapshot. So that's kind of the style there. And then if we go ahead and grab those 3 methods, so we'll just kind of grab the 3 Firebase methods. Heck, I'm going to go ahead and grab view did disappear as well. It looks like I already had a view did disappear, so I'm going to actually blow that away and then just paste them all in here. So now I've got my Firebase methods all done, all pretty prepackaged. If you just kind of want to glance at them, you can see that create, child added, what it does is it inserts a new password at location 0. It also does this thing with the cell heights array. This is something that was necessary for the code folding stuff. I wouldn't worry too much about the details unless you plan on using code folding. Normally you wouldn't have a line like this, but because of that code folding thing, we need it. When a password is removed, so that means it's deleted, you can see that we delete the rows at that index path. You can see Tyler did this, and it's kind of clever. You can use an enhanced for loop and get the index and the value, which is something I forgot you could do until I saw in Tyler's code when I was making these slides. And that's kind of slick for this because then we can remove index at using the index. So that dot enumerate, it's genius. That's how I should have done movie quotes. I just didn't know about it or forgot. Password change does exactly what you expect. It's a modified password and it just sets these things. And then instead of reloading the whole table, he does reload rows at index path. So to be honest, I feel kind of bad because everything that Tyler did in here is a little bit better than the way I did it in movie quotes. So you've actually got an example of things going a little bit better. Running it now should actually work out much better because now read is done. So now read is done, and you can see that actually it worked right out of the box. So we see the Google Fi thing. If I wanted to, I could add another one on here. So I'll just add my Rose Holman username. I'll just say blah 1234, and you can see Rose Holman pops on here. The colors, by the way, are randomly generated. You have no control over the colors at all. And I think if you edit it, so editing won't work right now. So 55555, the color would change as well. Wait, why did edit work? Okay, actually, I know why edit worked. Edit appears to have worked, but it didn't work. Because if you go look at the back end, you can see that it didn't actually work yet. That's because we haven't implemented the U yet. Perfect segue. Let's go implement the U part of CRUD. In order to implement the U part of CRUD, what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to go to, I think it's OnEdit. And so inside of OnEdit, you can find that it pops up a little dialog as well. when the dialog comes back, it does some things here. So it says locally edit the password and reload the table. So we do not want to do those things, of course. Instead, what we want to do is we want to actually push it to Firebase, right? We'll just go ahead and type it, it'll be fine. So we'll just say edited password. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually just make a new one. There's a lot of ways to implement this. You don't have to make a new one, but I find that just making a new one is pretty easy. And you can see what they did here is they just grabbed the service from that string, the username from that string, and then the password from this string. Great, so there's the edited password, which is great. And then what we want to do is we want to set it on the current user's ref. So the current user's ref is all their quotes. We actually want to dig down one level deeper. We want to dig down into this password's key. So it's going to definitely have a key at this point. Password, by the way, was passed in to this function. It's always weird to use other people's code because it's like, how do I have access to PW? Well, you have access because the rest of the app is already kind of written around you, right? And what we want to do at this location, so this is like drilling down to that level, is we just want to set these new values based on the edited passwords, get snapshot. I know this kind of feels like a lot's coming at you, but this stuff is really the exact same as what we did in movie quotes. So we're just kind of blowing over it quickly. We don't have to call reload data because our read takes care of that, right? Our read doesn't care who edited it. It just knows that it got edited. So if I edit from here, I'll just say FisherDS 55555. You can see that it just toggles on FisherDS 55555. And as you probably recall, the edit doesn't have to come from me. So if I change this word Rose-Hulman to Rose-Hulman 12345, try to get them kind of sort of both on the screen here. So I hit enter over here and you can see, boom, it just changed over there, right? Isn't Firebase fun with edits just going live? Delete won't work yet. So if I delete it from here, and you can see in the app, oh, actually that did work, but I know why. It's because read is done. The thing I can't do is I can't delete it from the app yet. So if I click delete right here, if I click on delete, this will not go away. So I click delete. It appears to have gone away in my app, but that's just because my delete is broken still, right? It's still here on the back end. Yet again, a perfect segue into implementing delete. Delete appears to be right below, which is great. Locally delete a password and reload it from the table. So super. I don't have to do any of this stuff, so I don't have to worry about manually modifying the table. Read takes care of that. The only thing I'm responsible for is for deleting it from the back end, and everything else will take care of itself. I love this system, right? So again, we're going to have to drill down based on the password's key, which I know exists. And then I believe there's a function that we can call just remove value. Gotta love one-liners. At this point, when we delete something from the client app, it should really delete it from the back end. I suppose I had to bring up my back end then. All right, now I can kind of see them both at the same time. So if I come into here, I click on delete. Click on delete there. It actually goes away on the back end. You'll notice that it actually did the cleanup of all the other like keys that had no values at the end, and that is working as intended with how Firebase goes. So just to kind of test everything in CRUD all together, I'll just kind of make up a new service. What the heck? I'll say Duke Energy, which is our local energy provider, and I'll make my password there ABC123. So there I can successfully create it. The fact that I can see it right here means I can successfully read it. If I modify it, so I'm going to say is great. They are now great. And then if I delete it, that delete button's kind of hard to hit. Then if I delete it, it'll go away permanently. Cool, so we just implemented all of CRUD, create, read, update, delete in a single video. And now the fun thing is as we add more types of auth, they'll just work for free, right? So, I mean, we'll have everything fully functional once we get that style of auth together, which I think is cool. All right, that's all we've got for this time. Come back next time, and we'll start tackling email password. See you then. Bye.